Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. Let's go guitar hunting today. I've got a few selected here before we go to the open market. This 1999 Gibson Custom Shop ES175 really caught me off guard when I saw this. I don't think I have ever seen a Purple Burst 175, and I dig it. It looks fantastic with the 3-ply binding. You get the white, black, and white layers, and that really just pops this whole Purple Burst finish. As you go from that really dark purple to the lighter to the very light, everything about this just works for me, including all the black plastics. And the flame top matches this finish perfectly. It's not too over the top, but not dull and boring. It's just the right mixture. And the ebony floating bridge on this thing, magnificent. I love the little accent pieces right here. Okay, so the front's really cool. It's got an original Gibson case. But the back, it's kind of a letdown. I feel like we could have had something fancy back here, give it some flame sides. But the side profile view is pretty interesting on this. It gives me Halloween vibes, dark and spooky, complete black night with just a little bit of light shining through the window. Then we get to the neck. You can check it out right here by zooming in. It has black binding. Black binding is, it's kind of an acquired taste, especially when it just kind of disappears on the guitar, but it's something that Gibson did during this time. Like, here's a good example of that. If it's a dark rosewood fretboard or an ebony fretboard, it just disappears. I mean, at least you get the fret nib, but that's about all you can really see on these things. So it's kind of a love it or leave it spec. It works on certain guitars, but I love the mother of pearl split parallelogram inlays on this one. And the one thing that prevented me from making an offer on this one, the headstock looks awful. This just happens on some Gibson guitars. This is an extreme case. I'm guessing it might not have been stored properly. Sometimes heat and humidity can cause this. Other times it's just natural lacquer sinking. This, to me, I think it needs refinish. Just do a new clear coat, take pictures documenting the process, and then it'll look cool. Maybe even go as far as, if you were to redo that, spray it in a purple lacquer, kind of like the Widowed series. Give it a nice light to darkish purple. While we're at it, we might as well dye the nut to a special color too. But according to the serial number, the neck was stamped around mid-1999, but they didn't ship it out till mid-2000. That one was sitting around for a while. Maybe they had Y2K fears. The action looks pretty nice. Oh man, does that actually have binding on the back? Once again, it's black so you can't see it. So that looks like a crack, but I'm guessing that's honestly just where the binding ends. Or I could be wrong on that. But what a sweet ES175. But how much does he want? $4,025. Call me crazy. For how unique that thing is and how much it would cost to custom order that today, I think the price is okay. I mean, sure, you could get similar ones for about the same price, but that's purple. That's going to speak to somebody. But hey, take a look at this one. A 97. This one's get the flame size. Why doesn't the other one? I mean, this is a very nice looking 175 too. I love the wood grain on that. This is what an ES175 can look like. It's got all the super figuring flamed on the back, and it also has it on the side. So why can't our Purple Beast have that? Maybe it came down to a cost savings feature. Trade the beautifully figured woods for a special finish. Next up here, we have a custom order to talk about from the mid-70s. So this is an EB3 electric bass custom from like 73, 74. So if you want to learn about the basses that have an SG-esque body, you can check out my EB3 review. But what makes this kind of interesting is I've never seen a white one before. I'm sure they do exist outside of just this particular one, but the fact that it also has gold hardware, that's pretty sweet. I mean, even gold pickup covers on this. I've never seen that on one of these, especially an older one. It even comes down to the tuners being in gold. Gold and white go together really well. It's got the custom truss rod cover, as sometimes custom orders would have in this era. And get this, block inlays. And is that a tortoiseshell pickguard? This was just such a fascinating custom order to me. Custom one-off 70s models can sometimes fetch a very pretty penny. I mean, you even get a large comfort cut back here, and the condition seems to be pretty good. That is one sweet looking electric bass in my opinion. And you even have the original case. So what is our price? $5,900. I'm not much of a bass player, and I don't know a lot about the market of these, so this is mainly going to appeal to a collector, so I'll choose not to comment about the price. But the seller is saying that this bass was a custom build for us, whatever that means, by Gibson at the end of 73 to the beginning of 74. So I guess you kind of have to reach out to this guy to see who us is. I mean, maybe he was part of a well-known band, but he doesn't want to abuse that privilege. Or maybe he's just like a recording studio guy. Who knows? All I've got to say is that looks cool. And the last two that I picked out for today, we got to shame Gibson a little bit. There was an era where Gibson was trying to replicate the whole green aging of a vintage gold top, and they just didn't quite get it. And this one, it's not the worst one we've seen. I think I featured it in like a separate episode one time. But even though, in my opinion, they kind of botched the green look, they did a fantastic job on the aging portion, and that's another reason why I wanted to share this one. Take a look at that fake finish checking. It looks pretty good for a relic job, right? It's not all completely uniform. They've got the Y shape going on. The dings look realistic. I mean, this is a much better aging job than I've seen on some of the ones that I've owned. Checking isn't too deep. It looks fairly realistic. But where they've gone wrong with this whole green aging thing, it's just not realistic. The reason why these gold ones turn green is because sweat and oxidization, it forms with the finish, and it turns it a greenish hue. But in order to do that, I mean, check out the 70s Deluxe. They're not normally known for greening as much as the 50s ones, but this one has got that going on. See what every area that's turned green has in common? There is significant finish wear, so sweat can be absorbed into it and cause this greening effect. So when you have a custom shop reissue that has, minimal, if no, dings and dents and roughed up to the finish, it wouldn't turn green like that. See, like this area, it's been rubbed by somebody's hands as they've been playing it. And over here you get some dings, so stuff will absorb into the finish. All this makes sense on a vintage original one. Even as much as right here where the finish is just lightly chipped, exposing the finish underneath. So I think if Gibson really wants to nail this green stuff, they need to find a way to make it look more realistic. Like, I think they did okay right here. That's all right, but up here I think they botched it. Gibson just recently announced Murphy Labs as like a whole division to relic guitar, so I'll be interested to see how this new division ages gold tops with greening effect. That's all I had pre-selected for this episode. Let's see if anything interesting has shown up here. It's kind of a cool double cut Les Paul Jr. in heavy antique Pelham blue. I could not see myself paying $5,000 for that, but it is kind of cool. I don't like how the logo is all crooked. Oh sweet, those are rare. Unfortunately, it's not a complete set. These would have came off of, I think it's the 335 Custom. I guess it's possible it came off a Spotlight Special too. They had a very similar thing, but since they're see-through, I'm guessing it's the 335S. He's saying he got it off a Gibson Firebrand. That, unless they were just using up spare parts, it's unlikely, but it is around that same era. Not many guitars use those. Honestly, that might be worth making an offer on. Sometimes it's good to have, rare parts like that. Just in case, you yourself needs to replace just one. It's a nice ebony block. But to end things off today, another one of the very rare 1984 limited edition Les Paul Custom showed up, aka the Super Custom. And when I saw this, it's like, wow, that's a fantastic top on this one. But the more and more you read into it, pretty much everything's been replaced on it. So it's just like an original husk. I mean, you would have to restore the bridge and tailpiece to what you're supposed to have, get the correct knobs. The plastics have also been changed. The pickups are non-original. It's even been refretted. So this is just 1000% like a player's grade version. So unfortunately, I think the price is too high for this one. And it's got all the finish checking. I mean, this has definitely been played. Now that, don't worry about that. Pretty much all of those have it because this has the maple sides. At least the maple laminate sides. But a beautifully well-aged version of one of these. And it's got a pretty nice neck. It's always good to see a nice one of those on here. I mean, there's a reason this one was played. The back, it's a bit weak, but if I remember correctly, the one that I had owned at one point in time was also pretty weak. They didn't give them quite as spectacular backs as like the Les Pauls. But this one was number 24, and it still has that little sticker that some of these had for guitars that were sold in Japan. But this one was made pretty early 1984. So if you don't mind that everything's been replaced, you can make him an offer. Because the saying goes, you know, find another one. These things do not show up too often, but I sold mine for considerably less than that. But also remember, mine had like a headstock repair, so the right collector might be interested in purchasing this to restore it back to original, but unfortunately, you can't fix a refret. So that'll exclude that for some people. Okay, Troglodytes, thank you for tuning in today. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care.